Sherwood Forest, the home of Robin Hood, and a stone's throw from the first factory that kicked off the Industrial Revolution, powered by a water wheel on the River Derwent. I was born in a small village just down the road from Sherwood Forest. I grew up with a sister and two brothers. In our small village community, we lived next door to the church, where my mother would put on theatrical plays, and we would be encouraged to take part in them, whether we liked it or not. I remember slaying a dragon dressed as St. George in a production that she toured round the local mining villages. We had fetes and events in our little village community. We would work on the farms during harvest time and pick apples and potatoes. The butcher's van would come round with local meat, and I'd walk up to the bakery to get fresh bread to bring home. Our impact on our local environment was minimal. Our bins didn't have much rubbish in them because most of the produce we bought was straight from the fields. At Christmas, the presents we got were built to last. Next day delivery in our village was not an option. We had several small businesses in the village, so the money would go round and round. We worked together, we played together. The little economy that was our village worked really well. This description of a village community is hopefully recognised by some people in the audience, wherever you are in the world. And it describes something that in some ways has started to disappear. Mobility and digital technology has allowed us to move to new communities, either on our phones or around our places of work in cities. And our physical communities, in some ways, have started to die. I'll come back to community a little bit later. My personal journey continued. I set up my first business as a mobile DJ. That paid my way through college, where I studied construction. I then went out, I bought myself a wheelbarrow and a van and started my first proper company as a small builder. We did barn conversions and renovations and then started building individual houses and then larger developments. We built some fantastic properties, but I didn't think too much about the environmental impact of what we were doing. And then in 1992, the Rio Earth Summit happened, and the phrase sustainable development was added to my vocabulary. I started to think about the global impact of what my small business was having. This led me to be interested in research into how we could build more efficient homes. And then in 1998, me and my small team did a development of 24 new houses built to an energy performance standard that was 3 times better than the standard that was required then within the building regulations. We had solar panels on the roofs. We had rainwater harvesting systems to collect the water for the toilet flushing. Our insulation was made of recycled newspaper, and we even put raised beds in the gardens for people to grow their own vegetables. I bought a fully electric car and 2 electric vans, and I'm probably the first person in the UK to be fined for speeding in an electric vehicle. Maximum speed, 60 miles an hour. So there I am, driving around in my electric car, building my eco homes. It was clear in my head that the transition to more sustainable lifestyles was just around the corner. Why wouldn't it be? We understood the science and the technology was available. Unfortunately, our politicians and the global businesses that control them didn't think the same way. I carried on building my low energy homes, designing them without central heating systems and including design concepts that brought communities together, gave them a shared interest in their environment, just like the one that I grew up in. In 1996, when I started my sustainability journey, total global activity was emitting about 25 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide a year. We're now emitting 40 billion tonnes a year. There has been a catastrophic loss of biodiversity, 68% during my lifetime. We've seen animals become extinct that have evolved over millions of years. That extinction has happened in my lifetime. We're burning our precious rainforests to grow cash crops for the industrial meat industry. Temperatures are rising exponentially as a chain reaction takes place, which releases more carbon dioxide from melting glaciers, dying seabeds, and eroding soils. You could say that progress under our current system is not going well. If only we could all move to a planet B, we could do it differently. We know what we did wrong. Unfortunately, there is not a planet B, and ours is catching fire. People feel powerless in a world that's controlled by global businesses and their politicians. Some of these politicians and businesses are committing to net zero carbon by 2050, comfortably far enough off in the future not to really worry about it or make the difficult decisions that need to be made today. There is a global vision for a healthier, fairer, more equitable, zero carbon future, and it's captured in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We know what we need to do globally, we know what the building blocks are, but what does that look like in your community, in the place that we spend most of our time? Just spend a few minutes thinking about what your community could look like if everyone was focused on making it fairer, healthier, and better connected. We need to share a global vision and enact that vision locally. Think global, act local. My vision for the future is shaped by my history and my lifestyle. And as a successful entrepreneur, I know that to turn a vision into reality, you need a plan. And that plan needs to be scalable. Most businesses, small businesses, have an entrepreneur like me at the helm. And that means we can quite often move more quickly than the large corporations. Most businesses know how to create real value. We manufacture, we build, we innovate. We develop the technologies that solve problems. Social entrepreneurs focus on delivering services that hold communities together and enhance our environment. They're the other building blocks of the Sustainable Development Goals. These are the people that can make our communities stronger. Small and medium-sized businesses employ 70% of the global workforce, and we generate 50% of the GDP. Together, we're a powerful force. And we need to activate this powerful force, not only to transition their businesses to net zero carbon, but also to empower their customers and their employees to embed sustainability into every corner of every community across the world. During the COVID lockdown, lots of us refocused on our local communities. We had more time. We got to know our neighbours. We paid attention to things that we hadn't noticed before. During lockdown, I had an idea. Now, that's not a surprise. I have lots of ideas. However, this one wasn't about making money. This was about giving money away. I discussed the idea with my construction team, and I said to them, go out into your community, the place you live, and find a project, a charity, or a sports group that would most benefit from a £500 donation. A few weeks later, all the £500 donations had been made. This was very different to any other charitable donation we'd made as a company before. These donations were finding their way deep back into the communities, funding projects such as rewilding barren land, feeding families during the school holidays with plant-based food and recipe boxes to teach people how to eat, buying their products locally. We funded a refill station that was helping to design plastics out of people's lifestyles. Following the success of this first round of donations, we've expanded it for 2021 for our house buying customers so they can put their money back into their local community, their new community. Not only enhancing that community, but better connecting them. This model could work anywhere throughout the world. This made me think that if all profitable companies gave their staff and customers a percentage of their profits to put back into their communities, businesses would be empowering their staff to financially support the micro ventures, rewilding projects, and the health and well-being support groups, which are those sustainable development goal building blocks for truly sustainable communities. And guess what also happens? Customers choose to spend their money with businesses that support their community, and staff are more motivated to work for companies that benefit their local communities. This method of donating is a bit like corporate social responsibility on steroids. It's going to be an important part of the fight against the complex issues which have led to the climate emergency. Small businesses are already the ones who are innovating, but we need to accelerate that innovation down to a micro level. We will only be able to make the changes needed if we refocus on our communities and empower them to come up with their local answers for these global problems. Wherever in the world we are, everybody's problems have answers that sit within those UN sustainability goals. We need to make sustainability the core of what we do and not something that we bolt on as an afterthought. Whilst our politicians do need to make global binding commitments at the upcoming COP26, this week's conference, we can't expect them to come up with all the answers. We need to do it for ourselves. As customers, we all have power in the way we decide to spend our money. As employees, we have power in deciding who we're going to spend our valuable time working for. And as businesses, we have the ability to empower our customers and our employees to support their local communities. I believe that this system of putting profits back into communities can play an important part in powering the new ideas and initiatives we need to change the world. Businesses who set ambitious net zero carbon targets and set up their community funds will play an important part. Now, this might not feel like the one big idea coming from our Silicon Valley billionaires with their yachts and spaceships. In reality, there is not going to be one single golden bullet idea. The answers to the climate crisis and the collapse of our ecosystem needs to come from the bottom up. We need to do it for ourselves. So, I call on business owners, entrepreneurs, company directors, shareholders, test out this idea. Name it your business community fund. See what reaction you get from your employees and customers. If it improves their lives, then it'll make them more committed to come and work for your company. More customers, more motivated staff, more money going directly back into the local community. Now that makes good business sense.